What's up, folks? Welcome back to TacticalTortoise. My name is Trevi, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about Chaos Space Marines. Spoiler season for the new Chaos Space Marine Codex for 9th edition 40k is in full swing, and while we've been getting rumors about the Codex for the last couple of weeks, and some of them seem to be proven probably correct, we are now getting some real reveals as well as leaks as we move closer to the full release of the Codex. So let's talk about what came out today, both on Warhammer Community and some very spicy reveals of datasheets that were leaked around the community. First off, June 17th, 2022, we do get this update from Warhammer Community about the Chaos Cult and some of the new abilities available to specifically Chaos Cult units in the updated Codex. It looks like these units are getting a little bit more of a focus, unlike the previous version of the Codex where they were basically just chaff troops units that were used to fill out battalions very cheaply, and especially in place of Chaos Space Marine proper units that tended to be, relatively elite as well as being expensive while remaining one wound, because Chaos Space Marines never got that second wound, I guess, until this new Codex comes out. So Chaos Cultist units were often more efficient selections in that troop slot, but it looks like they're going to be getting a little bit more optionality in the updated Codex. We can see here that they have Legion-specific stratagems that can be used specifically on their cultist units. You see the Cannon Fodder stratagem returning, which can protect an Iron Warriors unit if you have Iron Warriors cultists that stand in front of them. The Fanatic Zealotry stratagem gives a unit full hit rolls and reroll charges, as well as the Cult Leader Warlord trait for Alpha Legion gives +1 to hit and +1 AP. Now, we also have a new unit being referenced here in this article. This is talking about the Accursed Cultist unit, as well as the Dark Commune, which is also referenced, although we don't know what those do yet. What they have talked about is that the Accursed Cultist unit is made up of mutants, which are probably a maybe more resilient, slightly stronger melee-oriented version of a cultist, as well as a unit that we do actually see spoiled here, or a model type we see spoiled, which is the Accursed Cultist Torment, which is a pseudo-chaos spawn level, probably unit champion style upgrade for these units. These guys come in with a random attack value, just like Chaos Spawn, 2d3 attacks apiece at 2 damage, AP2, strength 5, only hitting on 4s though, but theoretically, if this is a cultist keyworded unit, which I assume it will be, then it can be buffed by all of those abilities that we just saw, like those rerolls from Word Bearers or the +1 to hit from Alpha Legion. So that's pretty sick. But that's certainly not all that we have to talk about today, because we have some insane leaks coming from around the community. Now, there are some leaks that have been surfacing over the last couple of weeks. They're being collated in a document that I'll attach to the video here, so you can check those out if you want to. We also saw some datasheets being leaked, and as with all of these spoilers, I do want to throw a little bit of a pinch of salt into this discussion, because as we've seen before, leaks can be faked, and so these may be entirely untrue, but as we're moving closer towards the release of the Codex, and at least the reveal season of the Codex, I think we'll find out one way or another pretty soon, and I have a sneaking suspicion that these are probably going to be legit. We'll find out, though. Now, the first one I want to talk about is a datasheet for Chaos Obliterators. This is because we're going to basically rip this band-aid off right now. These guys seem just totally okay, I guess. Obliterators have been a bit of a scourge of the metagame in the past for Warhammer 40k, given that they are Chaos Space Marine infantry units and can benefit from a ton of the synergies inherent in this Chaos Space Marine Codex, giving them access to the Crimson Crown combo from Chaos Demons, for example, to give them exploding attacks. If you take them in Iron Warriors, they already have some inbuilt synergy with the Rampant Technovirus stratagem, and if you're taking Slaneshi Obliterators, Endless Cacophony to fire their weapons twice, let them deal an absolutely immense amount of damage once buffed up with Chaos characters and Psychic powers. It looks like the focus of the unit is changing quite a bit, though. Unlike the current version of Obliterators, which roll randomly for the statistics on their weapons before they select the targets, now the new Flesh Metal guns just get to select one of 3 profiles. Either a Warp Hail Shot, which is D6 plus 9 attacks and strength 5 AP1, giving you an average of 12-ish attacks per model. A Ruinous Salvo, which is D3 plus 3 strength 7 AP2, 2 damage attacks, giving you around 5 of that autocannon profile. or I think the most exciting one, Focused Malice, which is a D3 shot, strength 9, AP 3, flat 4 damage gun. This is almost exactly a heavy venom cannon, although only D3 shots rather than 3, a little bit less exciting than we've seen in the Tyranid Codex. Now, they also come stock with essentially Power Fists in their Crushing Fists, which will come out at strength 10, AP 3, 2 damage, which is not a profile to shake a stick at, especially with their 4 attacks apiece, weapon skill and ballistic skill of 3, and pretty tanky defensive profile with T5, a 2+ save, potentially Armor of Contempt, which I'm sure we'll find out whether or not that will stick around for Chaos Space Marines once that Codex releases. Now, they also have the additional benefit of having what is essentially a battle suit rule in their Unrelenting Firepower. They can fire their heavy weapons on the move without penalty, which is pretty cool, but they can also fire their ranged weapons in melee. Now, this is a little bit different than the battle suit or Big Guns Never Tire rules, because it allows you to fire at any unit that your unit is in engagement range, whereas other fire and melee rules typically allow you to only target units that each individual model is in engagement range. This makes their guns more of a pistol, although they still suffer the -1 to hit penalty for firing in melee. That's just baked into the rule as well. Overall, pretty cool, but I think what's not cool is that these guys are lacking the core keyword, and as we'll talk about in the next datasheet we have to cover, that core keyword is a pretty big deal in this updated codex. In addition, their points cost is also known to us at 90 points a model, which honestly, I think is too high for this profile. If they retain their Armor of Contempt, they're not the easiest unit to remove, but for 90 points a model, I think you would be hoping for more than D3 of their anti-tank shot, especially since it's unlikely they'll be able to source rerolls. That said, if any of these sub-factions in the Codex have access to Master Artisan-style rerolls, potentially a hit, wound, and damage roll, something like that, could definitely see individual Obliterators being taken, but they will definitely need to be able to get access to rerolls in some way. Now, speaking of the datasheet that we really want to talk about, that is a fully spoiled datasheet for Abaddon the Despoiler. And ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else watching the video, this datasheet is freaking insane. And this guy might be one of the craziest Smash characters or support characters or just generally powerhouse characters that we've seen in 40k in quite a while. Now, first off, we do know his points cost because we did see a leaked points page as well. He is coming out at 300 points right on the money, which is not too much for the amount of damage and support that this guy brings. Especially if you compare him to units like Morvenval, he comes out pretty far ahead, I think, in that arithmetic. He has a pretty solid stat block at the top of his profile, 6-inch movement, despite his Terminator armor, 2+ weapon skill, ballistic skill, as is to be expected, strength 6, toughness 6, 9 wounds, which is very important for a couple of reasons, as well as 8 attacks, 11 leadership for the lulls, and a 2+ save. Again, we don't know if Armor of Contempt is sticking around, but if it is, this guy will be very difficult to remove. He also has some pretty nasty melee weapons, including the Talon of Horus, which can fire for Strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage. Interestingly, the Talon itself attacks with a sweep profile, allowing you to make 2 hit rolls instead of 1 with a Strength 6, AP 4, 1 damage attack. That means he's going to be coming out 16 times if he needs to sweep some infantry, and if he gives himself rerolls, which he can, as we'll talk about later, he can be killing large numbers of infantry models pretty efficiently. Draknyen, his demon sword, also comes in with a pretty incredible profile. Strength 9, which increases to Strength 10 on the first round of combat thanks to his Mark of Khorne. And it has an ability similar to the Emperor's Sword, where wound rolls of 6 deal an additional D3 mortal wounds. Attacking 8 times with a 3 damage weapon on top of those mortal wounds is pretty incredible. Now, let's talk about his abilities, because while that stat block already is pretty solid, these abilities are absolutely off the chain. First off, he has the Mark of Chaos Ascendant, which I assume will be the collection of all of the different Chaos marks. This gives him the following abilities. First round of combat, so charged, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention, he gets +1 strength. That makes him strength 7 on his Talon of Horus swing, or strength 10 if he's attacking with Draknyen. Once per turn, the first time a saving throw is failed for him, the damage characteristic becomes 0. This is a blade parry style ability that we've seen several other places, including the Swarmlord, although importantly, it does work on both ranged and melee attacks. It is the first time a saving throw has failed, so your opponent can game it a little bit, able to come in with a smaller weapon, especially if they have a 1 damage weapon, for example, that maybe has a decent AP to get through his 2+ armor save. He fails that save, drops the damage from 1 to 0. You don't really care about that, and then you get to hit him with a Thunderhammer. But if you're going in with a big attack, if you have a small number of super high damaging attacks you're trying to kill Abaddon with, that is going to be very difficult to do. That is in addition to his Dark Destiny ability that we'll talk about next up. He also has what is potentially a Slaaneshi Chaos Mark, giving him Fight First, which is solid, and then his last Chaos Mark is a little bit of a head scratcher. This one subtracts 1 from Ruined rolls if the strength characteristic of the attack is either equal to Abaddon's toughness or double his toughness, meaning that Abaddon essentially gets a stalwart effect, never being able to be wounded on 2s, he can only be wounded on 3s, and strength 6 attacks will wound him on 5s. That one is a little bit weird, to be honest. -1 to wound against specifically strength 6 attacks is super bizarre. They could have just made this a stalwart effect and probably have confused less people, but who knows? I have no idea. Now let's talk about the next piece of technology that Abaddon has to survive, and the one that is the most important. This is his Dark Destiny. It gives him a 4+ invulnerable save, as is to be expected for any good Chaos Lord. Don't leave home without your Iron Halo style save. In addition, he has a phase cap of 3 wounds per phase. He can only lose 3 wounds. Any additional wounds that would be lost after that are not lost instead. This is absolutely crazy. This is basically the same breakdown of phase-capped wounds that we see on a Catan shard. The difference is that Catan shards can never benefit from Lookout Sir. They have that rule baked into their datasheet. Abaddon does not have that clause, however. So in addition to having a 2+ armor save, potentially with Armor of Contempt, ignoring the first failed saving throw each turn, and having this bizarre stalwart / -1 to wound effect, on top of being absolutely lethal in melee, Abaddon also has that very annoying Catan profile to take out. Abaddon can also be Lookout Sir, meaning that most of these abilities are only going to be triggered in melee when your opponent actually closes with him. Honestly, this profile could probably have stood to not benefit from Lookout Sir, and I don't think Abaddon would be significantly more difficult to kill. With the way it is, however, I don't foresee Abaddon being killed at any point over the course of the game unless the Chaos player makes a huge mistake. Instead, this guy's going to be able to wade directly into the center of the table, make multiple turns of attacking, and kill massive numbers of enemies. But he's also a force multiplication modifier himself. He does have the War Master ability, which requires him to be the army's warlord. You will probably be taking this guy in a Supreme Command detachment pretty often, if I had to guess, meaning that he will often be the warlord anyway. He also has a Guilliman-style aura, giving +1 to charge and reroll attack rolls of 1 for Chaos Core units within 6 inches. Now, importantly, this is any Chaos Core unit, not a Chaos Space Marine Core unit, meaning that he works for other Chaos Space Marine legions, including Thousand Suns and Death Guard, and once we get an updated Chaos Demons Codex, Abaddon will likely also affect units from those codices. Given that he has all of the Chaos faction keywords, he can probably be taken in a Supreme Command with any style of Chaos list, meaning that the thing that I was a little bit worried about, which is that with the updates of the Chaos Space Marine and Chaos Demons codexes, we would see Chaos moving a little bit farther away from a super faction and more to individual split sub-factions, may not in fact happen, and we may see Abaddon supporting some absolutely disgusting mixed Chaos-style armies in the not-too-distant future. On top of that, if you do take him in a Heretic Astartes army, he has some huge buffs in his Lord of the Traitor Legions ability. This gives him a command phase targeted full reroll to hit. It is a Chapter Master style ability to any Heretic Astartes core or character unit. In addition, if he targets a Black Legion unit, and he can target himself with this, given that he is a Black Legion character, you also get wound rerolls as well. Meaning that Abaddon, even without supporting an army, just wading into combat himself, has between 8 and 16 attacks at strength 7 to 10, depending on the different profile you're swinging with full rerolls to hit and wound. Even without an army behind him, Abaddon is an absolute powerhouse, and his ability to buff Heretic Astartes units as well as standard Chaos units with his support abilities in the early game while running directly up the middle of the table to fight your opponent over a mid-board objective in the mid to late game is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Abaddon is going to be a ridiculous powerhouse on the table, and assuming that all of these leaks are 100% correct, his 300-point value is probably too small for the amount of damage that this character is going to be able to do to your army. The important thing to remember is that even once he gets stuck in, he is almost impossible to remove, given that he ignores the first failed saving throw and has to be wounded over the course of 3 phases, one of those probably not being the shooting phase, since he's going to be protected by his Chaos Space Marine buddies surrounding him. I'm certainly worried for the survival of the Imperium over the next couple months if the remainder of the Chaos Space Marine Codex is as powerful as Abaddon's datasheet. I think the next Black Crusade may actually succeed this time. But anyway, that's all I have to talk about from the new Chaos Space Marine Codex. It looks like this Codex is poised to make a big splash in the metagame, and I think it's going to be absolutely insane. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to cover additional updates coming out from the Chaos Space Marine Codex, and drop a like on the video if you enjoyed these short videos about new news updates. And with that, big thanks to everybody who supports the channel over on Patreon at patreon.com/tacticaltortoise, YouTube channel members, Twitch subscribers, all those people who help me keep the lights on. I love you. Remember to keep it classy, folks, and have happy wargaming.